Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. I am David Allen, or if you like, Super Dave. Thank you for joining me in this chat of one of my all-time favorite characters, Blowtorch, number 154 in the classified line. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining me today. Gunpowder Nitro, the first one out of the gate. Thank you for joining me. Peace. So Blowtorch has been one of my all-time favorite characters since the 80s. He came out in 1984. He was one of those characters that kind of leapt off the shelves because of the brightness and the color deco and the cool idea of it. A blowtorch, a fire type soldier for the GI Joe team. And when you think about it, there's not a lot of places that you would use this type of soldier, but in my canon, he got used a lot, and I love him. He's one of my all-time favorites. I've got a lot to say about this character and how it's been handled over the years and the classified. Based off this beautiful piece of artwork here, I had very good, positive expectations, but they misled me with this beautiful piece of artwork on this blowtorch package, and we will get into that in just a little while. First, we have to go into the history of Blowtorch, and that is going to be with Dan Klingsmith's series of books again, creating G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, volume number 8. Now, this is my favorite volume of his series because it is the Crimson volume and has a lot of my favorite characters in here. It has the Crimson Guards, has the Crimson Twins, and now it also has Blowtorch in it. So it makes it even better as one of my favorites. So this is volume Dan Klingsmith Jr., creating G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. So Blowtorch has a lot of ideations. First, we're going to go into a little bit of the history and we're going to showcase some of the ideations. But there were a lot of options for this character and they could not figure out what they wanted to do. Look at all those ideations. Look at all those different color schemes. Imagine getting that all red one, or maybe that purple one, or the blue one, or the green and gray, or the yellow and blue. Some of these things are really cool, but see, this is the one that we ended up with, the red and yellow down here in the corner. But man, they had a lot of options on that, and they could not make up their mind, obviously, because there's so much. Let's see. I think that's it on that. Let's get into a little bit of the history of why they went with Blowtorch. It says alternate names: Pyro, Hotfoot. Interesting, since Pyro's a Marvel character from the X-Men. Hotfoot, I don't know about that one either. Year release 1984, designed by Ron Rudat. Ron Rudat designed most figures from 82 to 87, with the exception of a handful and some vehicle drivers. Flamethrowers have been weapons that the military has used since World War I. When designing Blowtorch, Ron protected him from the heat of his flamethrower by putting him in fire-resistant clothing and padding. So there you go. And so there's a little bit of designs on the equipment on that on this page over here. Let's see if I can get a better, and a little bit of a turnaround and some ideations as well on Blowtorch. They have some black and whites, and they have this greenish beige or greenish beige version there on that page. And that's going to come back around in a little while. I'm going to go into that in a little while, why that's interesting for Blowtorch. So if you saw on that ideation page, they showed his vintage package, and there it is in all its glory, Blowtorch. And look at how awesome that is. Look at how fiery that is. It just jumps right off the page. It's one of the coolest designs and the coolest pieces of artwork that Hector Garrido ever did, in my opinion. This is Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe, Volumes 2, 1984 to 1985 by Carson, R. Carson Metaxas and 3D Joes. So there you go. But I wanted to showcase that artwork a little bit better. This is one of the prints that came with the omnibus. Now this is the card back without all the indicia and all that stuff that was on it. But look at how absolutely beautiful that is. It's just one of the most beautiful pieces of artwork I've ever seen. And Hector Garrido is one of my favorite painters, and he's done a really, really good job with this piece of artwork. There's some really, really nice ones that he did back in the 80s that just stand out. With that many variations, there should be a consumer vote on the color scheme. Yeah, that would have been interesting if they did like they did with the Hasbro HasLab His Tank, where they took one of the ideations of Ron Rudat and they asked us to vote. And I think everybody voted on the all black one or whatever, or the black and red one. I like the purple one, but I guess the black and red one is pretty cool too. But yeah, I think that would have been interesting if we do like maybe a retro package version of it. Let us vote, because there's like 30 ideations there. But it's going to come back. I'm going to come back around to something with that in a little while, Gunpowder Nitro. Yeah, that artwork would look great displayed, bro. Yep. I wish I had more room. I want to take all these prints that came with my omnibus of the Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe. They did like, I think it was like 5 editors proofs and 5 fan proofs, and then he added a couple extra ones. I'll go through those in a little while just to showcase you some of the beautiful artwork, and it's a lot of my favorites too that deserve to be in there as artist proofs. I would love to frame them all. I really would like a bigger room. This room has become like so engrossed with toys. It was supposed to be a theater. That was the intention, the original intention of it. But because I've gotten so much stuff, I'm trying to like shed some of the stuff out of here. I've got ideas on that I'm going to work on to try and alleviate this and make a new room, and then put up a lot of artwork posters and diorama pieces and things that I have that would be really cool on the walls. But it's just something that I have to work on in the future. But I do have plans on trying to do something else besides using this room for the future. What's up, Joe Bros? Hey, Sean Jones. Good morning. Hope you're having a nice ride to work this morning, and I hope I'm giving you some entertainment to keep you awake. So there's some ideas there, and I'll go into that in a little while. I want to also mention that Blowtorch's first appearance was in G.I. Joe, Real American Hero 32 in the 80s by Larry Hama. I think Ripcord appeared in that. Bongo the Balloon Bear appeared in that. There was a few other new characters that appeared in that issue as well. He appears in the Sunbow animated series. I believe the Pyramids of Darkness was Blowtorch's first story that he was in. He was an Irishman that lived in Tampa, Florida, of all places. He came from Ireland, and he came and enlisted in the military and moved here when he was a child and lived in Tampa, Florida. And there's a big army base there in Tampa, the Air Force Base. And Chuck Dixon uses it a lot in his G.I. Joe, the IDW G.I. Joe by Chuck Dixon. He uses that Air Force Base quite a lot in Tampa. Sean Jones always, Dave, this video is Blowtorch. Sweet. Love the OG figure. Yeah, it is just one of the best figures. And I'm about to showcase that figure right now. Now, he was one of my top 10 favorite G.I. Joes on my list when I did that video with Woody. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was with Woody, I think, my favorite top 10. Maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't with Woody. It was my favorite vehicles that Woody and I did. This video I did a while ago. I probably need to do another one. But look at this figure. Look at how awesome it is. He comes with that green blowtorch, that cool rebreather and mask and helmet. He has that awesome backpack that everything is supposed to connect to. He's just one of those figures that just like jumps off the peg hooks. This vintage figure is just the best. He has completely new mold, no reuse, all original. It's absolutely beautiful. Imagine this as a child. When you go into Toys R Us or Walmart or Kmart or something like that, and you see this on the pegs with that artwork, with this beautiful artwork, wouldn't you be salivating as well? Wouldn't this jump right off the pegs for you? I think it would. Uh, it's just a phenomenal figure. It's one of the best. Happy Friday, Gun. Everybody's saying hi in the chat again. I'm going to put him back in here into his little container. All right, so put him right there. Let's see. Blowtorch. Ooh. No bloody way, Zorana. Oh my gosh. Funny, Lone Dragon. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Everybody's saying hello. All right. So a little bit more information about this. So here's a couple other variations. So this is the 4-inch modern. And you can see the 4-inch modern, they went very close to vintage with it. It's a little bit darker, slightly darker with this one. A little bit more of a burnt umber, I would say. A little bit dark, but they kept the Hector Greedo beautiful artwork. They just gave the whole body instead of just 2/3 of the body on the package. So that's the 4-inch modern Blowtorch. And there he goes. Took a dive. Let me come back up here. Get up here. He's a little heavy, so he's falling down. Now, this is another one that I thought was interesting, worth a little bit of a discussion. This is the Night Force Blowtorch from the 50th anniversary with Python Crocmaster. Now, if you remember those ideations that I showed you, this was one of those ideations, green with taupe or beige. And so they took one of the ideations and they made it into a Night Force figure. And that was also one of that green one that was on the side of the information that I showed on that page. So I'm very curious why they did that and what the purpose of that was. But I think it's interesting. So maybe we would get a Night Force Blowtorch down the road. That's a possibility. So I just wanted to showcase that a little bit, give you guys a little information about that Night Force version and the possibilities if we ever get a Night Force. There's so many variations of a lot of these characters. They're trying to get to new. I think people prefer them to get to characters we've never gotten to until we get a lot more. Then we can maybe sneak in a redeco or repaint or what have you. And I think that's a really good version of Blowtorch to do him as Night Force if they wanted to. But there's lots more Tiger Force, lots more Python Patrol, lots more Night Force, a handful more Sergeant Slaughter Marauders that we haven't gotten to. There's what else? There's a lot more Crimson characters. There's a lot more Iron Grenadiers. There's a lot more just plain across the board. There's a lot more we could get. So you think they have that many variants for every character? Yeah, I think they do. I don't see any reason why this is a 63-year-old brand right now, right? Or 62-year-old brand. There's so much stuff. When you look at all the redecos that were in the original 82 to 94 and other variations of characters, not including the late 90s with the Real American Hero redecos of all those characters and renames, a little bit of renames on some of that stuff. And then they get into the new sculpt era. There's tons of redecos and sets, like 6 and 8, 9, 10 figure sets with all kinds of redecos for all these different things. That doesn't even touch on what they did in the 4-inch modern and the 2 movie stuff, Renegades and 50th anniversary, all that stuff, 25th anniversary, comic book 2-pack there's so many variations. There's a lot of new characters, obviously, but there's a lot of variations of characters as well. So I think we're going to be able to get a lot of these characters redecoed and re-released. If you look at Star Wars as an example, and I know Star Wars probably, maybe it doesn't have as many characters. I don't know. I think it does now, but they're doing a lot of redecos and inventions of characters and stuff. How many Lukes have we gotten? How many Darth Vaders? How many Han Solos, Leia's, Chewbacca's, C-3PO's, R2-D2's, Obi-Wan Kenobi's, Anakin, Darth Maul, Padme, Qui-Gon, a lot of the bad guys, Boba Fett, the bounty hunters, all the aliens, Greedo, the Gamorrean Guard, the Sand Trooper, Jawas, all the Imperial characters like Grand Moff Tarkin and all those type of characters. They're going to do the same thing with Classified. If we're going to keep this thing going at least for another 5 years, that is where BMAC is looking at, like 2030. I think it could go way beyond that, in my opinion. Depends on how the pricing goes, but there's lots of redecos and re-releases. Definitely Gunpowder Nitro, definitely. Sorry, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but to answer that question, yeah, I think we got a lot more to go. Now, the Classified figure, which is 154, was a little disappointing to me. So I'm going to get into this in a little while, but I'm just going to prepare you guys. I'm not happy with this figure. All right, so then we have the designations, we have the target artwork, and we have the QR code. Let's see what we got for the QR, the designations right off the bat. First off, we have Vanguard. We have a flame, which I don't think I've ever seen that. It's probably flamethrower. Yes, it is. Then we have strategy with the rook piece. And then we have the environmental area, and that is, I think, city environmental specialist urban, I believe. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Urban. Yeah, I think it's urban. I don't see the exact correct one, but I think it's city urban areas. So that is the designations. And then we have the Shooting the Galaxy artwork by Mike and Matt, and a couple of call outs there on the package, tampos on there. And then if you look really closely, you'll see there's a vehicle there. I don't think we've gotten that vehicle in Classified, and that is the Bridge Layer. And then there's it looks like some bats way back there. Blue bats? No, those are just Cobra Troopers. And then there's a pilot in there. It might be heavy metal that might be in the Bridge Layer sitting there, or if that's the Mauler or the Bridge Layer, I'm not sure, but that's really cool. He looks really cool there. Blowtorch does, in that costume and everything. So then we get the deco, and we get the front of the package with the loadout, and just says Blowtorch, doesn't give his file name. So we're going to open this up and we're going to look at this. Now, this is a brand new character for G.I. Joe in the classified line, and we're going to be getting quite a lot of new Joe characters coming up. We've got three new Joe characters, kind of three new. One's a redeco, actually. So two new Joe characters coming up after Blowtorch. All right, look at all that. So we needed someone to fight Torch from the Dreadnoks. So we're going to get him out of his package. First off, the figure. Alrighty. So the first thing that you notice with this figure is that it's much darker. A much darker figure than the vintage, right? They added a lot more black. They subdued those colors, which I've come to expect with classified. They've been doing that subduing of the character for a classified up variation of it. And then there's the modern 4-inch, a little bit darker, but not quite as dark as this in the 4-inch modern 25th anniversary. So, you know, they went to a lot of trouble to explain what these little circular things are. They never knew what they were on the vintage figure. They never could tell us what those circular things. They were just padding. There's like these little circle things on his armor, and Classified went to the trouble of explaining what these little circular things do. They're little pressure gauges that release heat from the interior of the body, and they cool him off. OMG, how badass would a card back be? Oh my god, if they did a card back Blowtorch vintage package and they kept it like this, it would be like a dream come true for me. I absolutely would love that. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I am not happy with this deco at all. Just to tell you right off the bat, it's definitely too dark, and they added too much black. I think if they were going to do black, maybe they could have did the boots, or maybe they could have did like the gloves, or they could have did some of these secondary like mechanical gauges and things like that. But to do this secondary belt here, that color, and to do the knee pads and stuff like that, and to make all these some of these things really dark, I think it was too much. I think they went too dark with it. I think I would have been all right with the yellow and the red a little bit, and them subduing those colors a little bit. But to maybe do the 25th anniversary a little darker, but not quite this dark. He should have been on the Cobra Island wave instead of Barbecue. Yeah, it would have been awesome if they had gotten that. But the reason why Barbecue was because he was a really easy redeco of Destro. If you look at the mold of Destro and you look at Barbecue, they used a lot of reuse there. And they were trying to do reuse early on in the line and get some more money out of it to build the line. So Barbecue was one of those characters that they did that with. So it is what it is. We can't go back now. So there's a lot of metal, which I didn't mind these little metal circular things being like metal and a little pewter looking color. And the same with the belt buckle. I think we could have gotten maybe a brown belt, not black, maybe a brown belt with the silver buckles, and that would have been a little bit better. And then maybe some of the harness could have been brown here, and some of the technical stuff still could have been black with a brown. I think it would have lightened it up a little bit. It's just one of those things. They added too much black. If they wanted to maybe make around the knee pads brown, and then maybe did the knee pads themselves black, or both, do a little bit of brown and black on both, and then the gloves could have been black and the boots could have been black. You could have lightened this character up a little bit more, added some more browns, added some little less black, and kind of brightened it up a little bit, I think it would have been a little bit better. I just think it's too dark for this particular character. I like the fact that they did keep his face pretty close to the vintage figure. I could pull that out so we can look at the vintage face. But he looks pretty close to the this figure. I'm going to pull his helmet and the rebreather off. Oh, there. So there's the vintage one, his head. There. And there's the classified one. Very good. I think they did pretty good with that overall. I think the face print is a really nice face print. I liked windowless boxes artwork. Yeah, the windowless artwork I liked a lot too. I think this would have been really nice on there, the front of the package. But what are you gonna do? We gotta keep moving forward, and there's nothing we can do about it. But that's why I talk about this stuff in these videos. There's a little bit of detail too on the inside of the collar. There, you can see he's got a white shirt underneath there, and there's some little zippers and some silver and stuff. I think their heart was in the right place. It's just I think they went too dark. I really do. I think we should have been a little bit lighter. Even this collar, maybe they could have made the collar a little brighter with that instead of that color, and maybe added a little bit more, maybe yellow on this and brown on this instead on these knee pads. That's just me. Maybe they could have made the gloves brown. They could have did some of this design back here could have been in brown and stuff like that. I think they went too dark, because there are little black details like these little buckles and these little underneath padding parts that are on there that are black as well. So you could have still had a little bitty black little deco details and added some more brown and added some more lighter yellows if they had the ability. The fact that they were doing a lot of beautiful decos recently with a lot of the other characters, like that Frag Viper that we did yesterday, and Dial Tone and Leatherneck, they did some really beautiful decos on those figures, and it's a shame that they skimped out a little bit on this Blowtorch figure, in my opinion. But it is what it is. So I'm not happy with this. I like the fact that the padding goes up over the thighs, and when you twist it, it goes with it. The same with the when they do the knees and stuff like that, they add that extra articulation. This one does not have the extra knee, extra ankle articulation. It does have the foot rocker, although, so we'll be able to do that. And it does have the thigh and the calf articulation. It has the secondary knees and elbows. It has the butterfly shoulders, and I like the armor that goes over the shoulders, so you can maneuver that, and it's still fairly easy to get around with that. He's got the wrist articulation. He's got the crotch and the leg articulation. He has the ab crunch there underneath the secondary and the head articulation. So he's got most of the articulation points, with the exception of a couple of the wrist ones. He does not have the secondary wrist, and he does not have the bendy wrist. And he doesn't have the secondary ankle. So they skipped on that because they did a lot more, obviously, with the armor and details there. So they had to cut a little bit. Whenever they do these bulky figures, they take some of the articulation points out to make it a little cheaper, to cost reduce it. Let's see. Sean Jones, retro will be a bright. I could see them doing that. Yeah, I think I think you're right about that. If we ever do get another one, It should be. I think the first G.I. Joe comic was in World War II, 1944. Yeah. Yep. It's one of the first ones. You're right about that. So G.I. Joe technically is over 80 years old. Well, yeah, the term G.I. Joe, yes. The brand toy line from 64 to 66. So it's only 62 years. When I was a kid, I thought they took the outfit from the movie Philadelphia Experiment. That's a very good possibility because they do get inspired by everything. Sean Jones, because I've talked to Larry about this, and I was wondering if he took inspiration or if the Hasbro team took inspiration of the Crimson Twins from the James Bond movie Octopussy, which had twin acrobats from a circus. And the twins are acrobats, and they went into the circus several different times in G.I. Joe. And they're in the comics in the circus as well. So 82 years old, G.I. Joe is. Wow. The term G.I. Joe, because it was the history of the term G.I. Joe was the foot soldier or the average Joe, G.I. Joe. And that's where the term coined in the military over in Europe. And so it stuck, and that's how people would refer to what we refer to as green shirts in GI Joe. The normal GI Joe American soldier was a GI Joe, and then they did a movie with Burgess Meredith in I think the late 40s, like 48 or 49, and that was the story of GI Joe, the term GI Joe, and why they use that term. And he was a reporter. I think something Pyle, Denver Pyle, I think was the reporter. I can't recall, but I know it was played by Burgess Meredith, and it was called The Story of G.I. Joe. And then Barbie came out, and then Hasbro was like, well, we could do something like this, but for boys. And then they did the G.I. Joe action figures. That was the fighting, the movable fighting action figure. That's why the action figure term got coined from that. The Philadelphia experiment fails because they don't have the same frequency transmissions at the receiving end. Okay. I've seen the Philadelphia experiment when I was young. G.I. Joe comic was made in 1944. The comic strip based on G.I. Joe. One of the guys that was a G.I. Joe back in the day, he did a comic strip on it, and it was based off of that. Yeah, that's correct. G.I. Joe 666 Delta 17. Then they did the Marvel or the DC comics that were based on the G.I. Joe 60th versions of G.I. Joe. The Sailor, the Soldier, the Marine, and the Pilot. They did two comics from DC Comics there. But there were comic strips all the way through the 70s based on this character, this G.I. Joe character that was, they changed his name to something else later once the G.I. Joe toy line came out. They had a comic, yep. It's in one of the History of G.I. Joe's videos someone made, and they showed the comic. Yep. Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. 66 G.I. Joe 66 Delta 17. I'm very familiar with it. I've watched that documentary. I've done deep dives and historical episodes myself on this channel about the history of G.I. Joe, and I've gone into all those things, those comic strips, the term G.I. Joe, and where that came from and what it means, the movie, the Burgess Meredith movie and everything. So I've done those history deep dives myself. Average Joe is a civilian. G.I. Joe is a government issue Joe. Yeah, there you go. Oh, nice. So there you go. All right. So let's get into a little bit of his accessories. I'm going to put him over here for now. We've got a couple of these blowtorch effects for him. And I believe they're the same effects that Torch had from the Dreadnoks. So we'll add those to his accessories, his guns and weapons when we get to that point. So we'll put them over there. So we have this beautiful backpack, which we've seen this backpack several different times. I think Barbecue had it. I think maybe Blowtorch. No, Blowtorch does. Yeah, Blowtorch does have it. But they did a darker yellow, which this is why I'm a little bit kind of fussed about this. Is why did they use that yellow for the backpack, but then they use that yellow for the figure? I don't get it. It's a mystery to me that if they had that color paint, why not just make the figure that color? So there you go. Then there's this huge blowtorch gun, which I absolutely love. Now that's an upgraded gun. Look at that. They got a little bit of flame out of there. We've seen those little flames that come with different things, that extra torch flame. There's some beautiful silver deco around it. I would have liked to have had a little purple on there to show that it got really hot. And then there's this little guard here to guard blowtorch that's done in silver deco as well. This is a definitely new weapon. We've never seen this weapon in the classified up until this point, but it's really, really nice. I've got to say, there's a lot of really cool details in it that really make it look really cool. So I do like that. I do like the backpack. G.I. Joe 66 Delta 17. Do you know if America is going to invade Canada and what day you think they might? Would it be spring or summer? No. Contrast. I guess you're right, Sean Jones. No, we're not going to invade Canada. That's ridiculous. We're never going to invade any other country. We're never going to invade places that we're not invited to be a part of. We're not invaders. We're not like England, who invaded like half the world, or France, who invaded half the world, and we're not like Russia. We don't invade other countries and take their territories. We try to do treaties with them and help them and be collaborative with them, but we don't invade them. No, Trump never said that. He said we're going to work with them and try to come up with a treaty so we can help them, because it is a very vital piece of land that is very integral to a lot of different battle scenarios with the waters around it. But we're not going to invade. He never said we were going to invade. In fact, he came out the other day. He said we're not going to do that. He specifically said that in one of his videos. Yo, Joe, good morning, beautiful people. Hey, Lady Virgo, cool. Thanks for joining us. Good morning. I think he called it Literation Day. Okay. Sometimes we invade other countries and take their president and first ladies. No, I don't know about that one. No politics. Yeah, no politics. Yep, there you go. Stay away from the politics. So there you go. So then we have his rebreather. Now, if you look at the rebreather on the vintage one, it's all yellow. And this one, there's some yellow, there's some black, there's some clear with the eyeglasses on there, the goggles, which I really like. I like it when they do stuff like that. See, that would be something that I think is a nice upgrade for the figure, and it will add to the figure because of the glass and the see-through aspect of it and things like that. I think that's a good upgrade. So then we have his tube. They made the tube black, which we've gotten a lot of these tubes, silver and black and stuff like that. So that's fine. Some of the tubes and things I'm okay with. The helmet. So we've seen this helmet many, many different times. It's been redecoed a bunch of different times. So they kept with the darker yellow, the burnt umber yellow, and some black detail. So there's no difference there other than the color on it. And then we have a green revolver, which if you look at the figure, I believe he has a revolver in his leg there. So that's his revolver. All right, so that is the end of the accessories. We'll put that over there. Um, let's see, where are we at? All right. Yep, they suck, but the tariffs affect us from buying more GI Joes from America. There you go. The only good thing about politics for me is both sides are idiots. So it's comedy gold. Yeah, uh, you're right about that, Lone Dragon. Gotta pay to play. There you go. Yep, but it costs way more because our dollar is worth far less. Oh boy. Yeah, not much we can do about all that. So I'm just gonna focus on what I can control in my life, and that's what I can control. Let's see. Um, see. So you pay 25, we pay 50 for the one figure. Eeks. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna put my backpack on him here. See there. 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 We're gonna try to hook up some of these tubes. So there's a little bitty thing there. With that, there's all that like technical stuff and everything in there. You can add this tube to it. There's also a place where you can store the blowtorch if you wanted to. There's a little bitty tab on the bottom of the backpack right there where you can store this if you need to. So he doesn't have to have it in his hand. I'm going to have him have it in his hand because that's what Blowtorch does. I'm going to put his revolver in his holster. He's got this holster on the right leg right there, just like he does in the vintage there. So we got that in there. All right, so then I'm going to try to attach this hose to the weapon, the blowtorch itself. There, I got that. I'm going to try to get that into his hand without too much fuss. Yeah, no fuss at all. That went right into his hand. Tighten it up a little bit. There. And then we're going to try and put his helmet and rebreather together. We'll see what that looks like. There. So there's a little bitty spot on that little chest computer looking thing there that you can put the rebreather into. So you can put the rebreather in there. And that moves too. That's a flexible thing. Actually, I put his helmet on before I put his rebreather on. Sorry. Let's see. Put his rebreather on first. Let's see. So getting that over his head is a little tricky. Getting it tight on there. Then we can put that tube in there. There. All right. So then we'll see if we can put his helmet on. Okay, and there you have it. Oops, his tube came out on his back. There. All right, so there you have it. Blowtorch with all of his accessories on there. So I'm going to add this little blowtorch thing. I'm going to take that little one off there, and it comes off. That's cool. I'm going to add that one there. There you go, Blowtorch. Blowtorch looks better in black and gray outfit. I hated the yellows. Oh, that's a shame. Because I really love the yellows. This is like one of my all-time favorite figures, and I love this version of him. And I think they did a really good job with it. It jumped off the pegs when I was a child, and I think it was fantastic. Let's see. So there's your two blowtorches. You can see one's much darker than the other one, much as one is much, much brighter. So I'm going to get a stand for this. Excellent flamethrower sound, Dave. Thanks, Gunpowder Nitro. I appreciate it. I always wanted to be a voice actor. I think I'd make a really cool voice actor because I can do a lot of that stuff. But I just never knew who to go to and how to set up a like a CD with all that stuff, because it's very weird. You have to sound like yourself. It's like my voice doing voices instead of trying to just do like Cobra Commander, I will get you, G.I. Joe. If it's the last thing I do, you have to use your voice in every word that you say. And if you can't, it doesn't work. So I can do a lot of voices, but it's hard to keep that. These guys that do these voices, it's like their voice. Is he making cappuccino? Yeah, you're right. He's making cappuccino. Lone Dragon. Oh, yeah, you're funny. Can you do the flaming sound again? That's awesome. Oh my God, you guys are funny. If by the end of this series of videos, I don't have a job as a voice actor, I'll be very disappointed. So let's see. I'm going to try and get him onto a stand, and we'll see if he stands up. Hold your horses here. Sometimes they go in real easy. Sometimes they don't. It's weird. Like we had a hard time with that Flak Viper yesterday, getting him on the stand. But the blowtorch went right in. So let's see. I'm going to put him back in his package here. So we have a couple extra flame effects. So that's not that bad for extras. I'll just add that to my catch of effects and flames and stuff. I got lots of them. LOL, fantastic. I can do lots of cool effects. I can do explosions. How about that? You like that? Hey, good morning, Clement. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing? See, I think I make a great voice actor. So if Blowtorch gets kicked off the team, does that mean he was fired? See what I did there? Thank you. Thank you. I'm here all weekend. New York Knights, thanks for joining us. That's hilarious. I appreciate that. We've been having a fun chat today with everybody. So what do you guys think? Do you like this blowtorch? Do you think it's there's room for another Blowtorch, whether it's Night Force or whether it's a vintage package closer to his vintage package, or do you think we'll never get another Blowtorch? What do you guys think? There's a rumor of Airtight coming this year, so I'm hoping if they're doing Airtight, maybe they could add Blowtorch to the Eco Warriors as a really cool new version of him. That's a character. They did this entire new team of Eco Warriors, right? And they named them all different things. But why not Blowtorch and Airtight and Barbecue? They did Barbecue, but they didn't do Airtight or Blowtorch. It's one of those puzzling things in the vintage line that they didn't want to reuse those two characters. And they made Flint the leader of the Eco Warriors. I'm like, what? That should have been Airtight, should have been the leader of the Eco Warriors. I don't get it. So there's a rumor of an Airtight coming this year with Toxo Zombies. We'll see what they do with that. But yeah, he definitely doesn't blow. He's awesome. You guys are having fun with me. All right, so I wanted to showcase some of the artwork that came with this, my omnibus. I don't think it's been a while since I showed these off. These are the prints that came with the omnibus edition, the Creating the Art of G.I. Joe omnibus version. I've been showing you the books when I've showed off packages, because it's easier to show them like that because they're individual books and they're lighter and it's more flexible. Trying to lift that omnibus, I'd be doing my like weightlifting every single day just to try to get that up to show you. But this is one of the prints that was in the set that you got. There was 5 editor prints, and there was 5 fans choice prints, and I think they threw in a couple extras just for the hell of it. So this is one of those prints. I'm going to show you all the prints and show you how beautiful they are. They took all the indicia and all the stuff off of the prints to show you, to show the artwork in their unadulterated versions. So there's a barbecue, and there's the cover. They used the artwork from the package from, I think, the 86 figure package. And so that is that. And so we're going to go into all these. Since I have it here and you guys were interested in this, I'm going to show you some beautiful pieces of artwork for all of this. I'm going to put my barbecue over there so I have room to move around without knocking him over. Here's one of my all-time favorite Joes. Actually, it's my favorite Joe Good character, and that is Spirit Iron Knife. Isn't that beautiful? He's like my favorite good Joe, and I'm very happy to have that. So I'm going to do what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to try to frame all these pieces of artwork. And I have a lot of other stuff that I could frame too. Some diorama artwork things that Jamie Sullivan's done with the classes of G.I. Joe, with the class of 82, the class of 83, and he's working on the class of 84, and some Cobra pieces to go along with them, and some of the 5 cover posters that he did for the G.I. Joe IDW series. I have some of those all together, and I think they'd look beautiful in a room. If I can ever get another bigger room to do this stuff, I would move all of my stuff up there and do it like that. There's a beautiful snow job. That was why he was one of those characters that jumped off the shelves for me, as well as when I was a child. Isn't that beautiful? Hopefully we're going to get a retro snow job. That would be another nice figure to get a new version of. Barbecue and Blowtorch are probably friends. I'm sure Barbecue is assigned to tag along with Blowtorch a lot to put out any excessive fires. Well, in Sunbow, it was always airtight in Barbecue. It was never Blowtorch. And then there's the first Snake Eyes that created the myth of Snake Eyes, the first all-black figure that they were wondering if it was going to be a cheap tactic, but it turned out it wasn't. It was a very mysterious character, and people fell in love with him. And he was a cool variation of that. So yeah, Lone Dragon. I don't know about that. Maybe in the new comics, Skybound comics, they might do that, but they didn't do that with the vintage Sunbow, to my knowledge. And the two characters don't cross over in the vintage GI Joe Marvel series that much, to my knowledge, either. They have different storylines. And here's another piece of artwork, one of my favorite characters, designed to look like Vinny Dialeva, Cesspool. And we haven't gotten any news on Cesspool this year, which I'm very disappointed at, because I really want to get Cesspool. The fact that we're getting Airtight and the Toxo Zombies, that's a positive in that direction, but I would love to get a Cesspool. I really would. But he's really cool. This is another one that I really like, and it's the very first version of Storm Shadow. Look at the eyes. Look at the eyes that Hector Greedo put in there. Look at how menacing they are. Look at the characteristics that they give you just by looking at that. He was such a good face painter, and with details in the faces and the eyes and the mouths, everything. It made you really get invested in these characters. And then this is my very first G.I. Joe character that I got in 1983, January of 1983. And it remains one of my all-time favorites, and that is Destro, version 1 Destro. And that is another one of those characters that just leaps off the pegs. It is so cool, and you can see the facial detail. Even though he's wearing a mask, you can kind of see the facial detail and the intensity that is there with the character. Hector Greedo did such great work back in the 80s. He was the painter of 90% of the vintage figures back in the day. And so and this is a familiar piece. This was on the case, the collector case, and it was the inspiration for G.I. Joe #1 of the comic book series from Marvel as well. So that is a famous piece of artwork that's been used many times in advertising and publicity and stuff like that. Now, here's a really cool one. This is one of those ones that, as a child in '84, I just was in love. That's my favorite year, and '85 is my two favorite years is '84 and '85. Because look at this guy. Look at the grisliness. There's like a scar on his face, and look, you can see he's like not all there. He's a bit creepy, and they convey that in the painting and the art with Hector Greedo. And this is an '84 character, Scrap Iron, that I really like. Yeah, that's some really beautiful artwork. Thank you very much, 66 Delta 17. I didn't do the artwork. Hector Greedo did the artwork. Doug Hart did the art in the 1990s. There you go. Yeah, that Cesspool piece is probably a Doug Hart piece. You're right about that, 66 Delta 17. Now, this is an interesting one because I showed off some novels that Hector Greedo did called the Baroness novels. And there was a series of spy novels done in the 60s and 70s. And he does really good job with women with long black hair. And that's why his Baroness is one of his best pieces. Look at how absolutely beautiful his piece of the Baroness art is. It's fantastic. And if you look at those old Baroness novels, you can see why he was so good at doing women like that. He was an expert at it. Paul Morales, hello. Thanks for joining us. Good morning. Evil Dookie, what's up, Dave and chat? Hey, not much. We did a Blowtorch review today. Evil Dookie, we're having a good time. I'm showcasing some artwork because I showcased this beautiful barbecue art, and I had the portfolio of art, so I thought I'd show all the rest of it off to the chat so they would see it with my barbecue. And that's what we're doing now. So everybody's saying hello to everybody in the chat. The 1980s is Hector. You're right on that. Yep. Evil Dookie. Everybody's saying hello again. So then we get Snake Eyes version 2. Another Beautiful piece. I think they really did a good job with that timber there. It really conveys kind of like the artwork has some action in it, even though it's a static piece of art. He conveyed from the artwork and the way that he did it that there's like action, there's something going on. And every one of these pieces of art, if you look at that blowtorch art, the snow job art, spirit art, the baroness art, they all look like there's something happening, like it's 3D almost. And it's not, it's just 2D. And then we have the viper, which they upgraded the effect around it to the digital effect instead. Really beautiful as well. Stands out with that color deco. And then this is a really nice piece that I have this set, and this is the train set, which is a different artist, a totally different artist did this train set. I think Bart Doe is the artist on this train set piece of art, but it looks really beautiful as well. Let's see what else. We have the outside the pamphlet for, I think it's the 87. It might be 87 or 88 pamphlet. Beautiful artwork there. That was done by Doug Hart. So this is a Doug Hart piece. This is one of the very first pieces Doug Hart ever did. And I've met Doug Hart. He's a really nice, friendly guy. Beautiful piece of artwork there for the package, the pamphlet. And then we have a couple of vehicles. And there's the water moccasin with tons of Cobras on there. Cobra Commander, Destro, Copperhead, and a Cobra Trooper. And I hope we get this. I really do. Because upgraded water moccasin, I think would just look absolutely fantastic. And so there's rumor that we're getting that sometime this year. But it's going to come with a Cobra Trooper of some sort of troop builder and not a... not Copperhead, which I think it could come with Copperhead. I think there's room for a third Copperhead, a more retro packaged Copperhead, if you really want to get to it. Make the colors a lot more brighter, add a lot more of the details of the Copperhead, make the helmet come off. For God's sakes, you've done it with Blowtorch, you've done it with all these other characters, but Barbecue and Copperhead, no helmets. Scrap Iron had the helmet come off. Wild Weasel had the helmet come off. Blowtorch has the helmet. A lot of them. Sci-Fi. Why not Copperhead? And why not Barbecue? Now, this is the one that Nitro wants. This is your piece of artwork. Where is he? If I can find him in the chat. Is it New York Knights or is it Nitro? Yes, definitely need picture frames for those. Yep. Wow, you're super lucky to have the very first piece of art by Doug Hart did. Well, yeah, I've got several versions of it. I've got the pamphlets. I've got a huge poster that Carson sold on 3D Joe's of that for a while, and then I have that print. So I have 3 versions. So this is the mother piece that everybody wants, the whale. There you go. There's your beautiful whale. There's the artwork from the package. Who was it that wants the whale? Was it New York Knights or was it Nitro? Paul and Evil, happy Friday. There you go. Oh, everybody saying hello to everybody in the chat. So this one, it has Recondo, Cutter, Roadblock, Gung Ho, looks like Grunt, Tripwire, some green shirts. The detail in this is just fantastic with all the faces and everybody that's in there. So there's your whale that you guys want as a classified HasLab. There's another package. This is another piece of the package pamphlet artwork that we've gotten. Beautiful piece of artwork, I must say. Lone Dragon, I want a whale. A lot of people want a whale. I vote no more vehicles until we get the Thunder Machine. I think we're going to get the Thunder Machine probably this year. I think so. I'm not 100%, but there's some low hanging fruit still on vehicles. All right, and so this is the first package pamphlet artwork, and it's been used on several other places in the G.I. Joe brand, but it is absolutely beautiful. It's like a little bit of water on that, watercolors. That was done by, it says the artist is unknown, but look at how beautiful that artwork is. It's like a watercolor. It's the first packaging art on the pamphlets, the toy pamphlets that came with the figures and the vehicles back in 1982, I believe. This is the first piece of artwork. And there's all kinds of Joes in here, like all the main line of GI Joes, and the flag and the Sky Striker, and Flash up there with the jump and everything. It looks absolutely beautiful. And then I think this is the piece of artwork on the some of the later packaging, maybe 83, or maybe some of the promotional material. This was done by Ron Rudat. I am trying to turn my second one into a custom whale. Oh, very cool. Lenny made that. LOL. No, he didn't, because that was done in 1982. That art, just like this one, another promotional piece. This one's done by Ron Rudat, though, with the OG-13 on both of those. Let's see. So this is a fun one. This is done. This is one of the, I think the little children's books that they did with the tape cassette and story. Fool's Gold book cover is what it says on here, by Earl Norham. Earl Norham was another guy that did a lot of promotional artwork for G.I. Joe back in the day. So this is one of the Fool's Gold book covers, which I love. I have most of the book covers. I think I'm missing one. But yeah, I like this a lot. It has the Conquest back there, which I like. I like space stuff. And then this is another packaging art for one of the pamphlets for I'm guessing 1991 or 92. And it has a lot of the 90s figures and vehicles and stuff like that. So there you go. This piece of artwork, the original is owned by a fan, and they tried to get a better version of it because they did a puzzle and they did something else, and they tried to get a better piece, a better version of it to make it bigger, but they couldn't. The guy that owns the original won't let them use it, so they had to do the best they could. Now, this is an interesting vehicle. It's not one of my favorite vehicles, but it's one of my friend's favorite vehicles, and he just got a new AFA graded one, and that is the General. But it does have one of my favorite vehicles in the background. It has the Locust. See that? The Locust. The General. Isn't that really beautiful? That one is done by Doug Hart as well. Packaging art on that. Let's see. Someone needs to make a custom tomb base for Cobra, where it makes a secret staircase leading down into a underground Cobra base. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. There's a lot of people doing 3D printed stuff. So this is interesting. I think it's a puzzle. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a puzzle. It says unproduced C set. Oh, this is a C set. So they never did this as a redeco C set piece of artwork. So there you go. That's a piece of artwork that never got produced as a box or anything. They just have the art like this. So it's really nice. It has Deep Six, fin back, looks like Torpedo, and the Barracuda, and not the Devilfish. I can't remember the name of the boat from the 90s, but there you go. That's really nice. And then this is a set of toys that we got in the, I would say, late 80s, early 86, 87, and it was all the lineup for that year. The package artwork for the pamphlet, and you can see it has Road Pig, Voltar, the Toxo Viper, the Laser Viper. I can't remember. Sandstorm. No. I can't remember his name, but Shockwave, and Hardball, and I can't remember this guy's name, but I think he has a pet Sandstorm. I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember. So there's a lot of the figures from that year on there. So those are some of the prints that came with that set there, and I hope you guys enjoyed looking at some of that artwork as much as I've enjoyed showcasing it. I don't get to show some of this stuff that often, so trying to give you guys an opportunity to see some of this stuff is really cool. Putting them all back. So yeah, eventually I will get them all framed. I have other stuff too that I framed. Like I got a beautiful art set for Transformers, and I had some prints in that, and I met Frank Welker and Peter Cullen from Transformers, and I had them both sign their prints, and I framed the two prints, and I put them on my wall in my other room. I think I showed them when I did that tour of that room. And so yeah, but I have some other artwork that I haven't shown either. But I love GI Joe artwork. It's so beautiful. They've done such a good job with it over the years. I'm very, very happy about it. All right, so Gunpowder Nitro. Hey, we just showed, I think it was you that likes the whale, right? We just showed the whale off a little while ago. I think it was you that wants the HasLab whale, right? Gunpowder? I can't recall. But yeah, there's some really beautiful artwork in those prints. If you had an opportunity to get the omnibus, the Art of G.I. Joe omnibus from Carson, there's a lot of fold outs and all kinds of stuff in that with other artwork inside the book. So I'm just showing you the artwork that came with the slipcase that came with it. But there's a lot more artwork inside the omnibus. So if you have an opportunity to order a omnibus, go to 3djoes.com and try to order yourself an omnibus from Carson Metaxas. It's definitely worth it. It's absolutely huge. It's monstrous, and it comes with all kinds of really cool details. The package is like the G.I. Joe figure case from the 80s, the entire package. I think that's just brilliant on Carson. When he told me he was doing that, I was like, that is absolutely perfect. Classified retro Flint artwork sign is my grail. There you go. See, everybody's got their pieces that they love, right? So let's see, what do we got going on next? So we got a Cobra coming up next. We need a Night Raven, Gunpowder Nitro. Who knows what we're going to get to Gunpowder Nitro? Maybe in the future. You never know. So we get a Cobra. That's a new Cobra for a fairly new faction. We've only got a few from this faction so far, but we're getting a new figure from that faction coming up next. It's an interesting figure that was a vehicle driver that they took the vehicle away from this character again. So this is like the fourth figure that they've done that with, and there are other figures coming up that they're doing that with again. So I don't think we're going to be getting a lot of vehicles with figures. The vehicles that we're getting are low hanging fruit vehicles. Like I really think we need the water moccasin. I really do. I think that's an iconic vehicle, and I think there's a lot of redecos on that we could get variations of it. Not only Tiger Force, not only Python Patrol, maybe a Night Force version of it. Who knows, you know? You can get a Python Patrol Conquest, LOL, and then a Conquest. Well, that would be something. That would be really something. 66 Delta. I don't know if they would do that. My YouTube pick is Joe artwork from the cards from the 90s. Oh yeah, a lot of those artwork from the cards in the 90s are really cool too, Sean Jones. I don't take anything away from a lot of that stuff either. There's some really cool pieces in that. Armando Tank, you will get that one. Armored tank. You think we'll get an armored tank? Okay. I really need an Arctic Asp. You never know. Those are all good possibilities that we could get for low-hanging fruit. You never know. But we've got to stretch this line out over whatever the next 2 or 3 years to 2030, and then possibly 2035, and maybe even beyond. So we've got to have to wait and be patient on some of these things and hold on for some of this stuff. I think the Asp would be something that they would definitely do. A lot of people want that. And there's definitely some redecos with that, with Python Patrol, Arctic. And the fact that we already got the MMS and the HMS stands to reason we could get the Asp and maybe get different troopers with that. So I think it's a good possibility. Armadillo. You're talking about the Armadillo tank. I like the Armadillo. It's a much bigger tank than people realize, but I do like it. It's a modern, more of a 90s tank, but it does look really cool. I do like it a lot. But I think there's a possibility of some of these things coming with redecos. But I think the Asp is one of those things we could get with some redecos, because we need a little bit more like gun turret type stuff similar to the HMS. We need a couple more of those type of things. I don't think we're going to get everything. I don't think we're going to get the flak. I don't think we're going to get like those big laser guns and stuff like that. But I think the Asp is one of those that we could get. But I still think we need the water moccasin. I think there's a lot of room for that as well. And that's where you got to keep in mind is where the redecos is. So if you can find something's been redecoed a lot, like 3 or more times, then it's very likely that we might get it in classified. If it's never been redecoed and we've never really gotten that much of it, then I don't see us getting it in classified. They're only going to do the things that they can get more reuse and make more money off of. That's the train of thought that I've come to realize with classified. And if you've looked at all the stuff that's coming and all the stuff that we've already got in classified, every one of the things that we've got thus far are things that have been redecoed or could be redecoed in the future. So we've talked about this ad nauseum in many different episodes. You're going to get the recon sled too. No, I don't think we're getting the recon sled. The recon sled was never really redecoed. There may have been another version in the club, but that's it. So I don't see us getting the recon sled. If we're going to get something, it's going to be something like a smaller vehicle. It'll be like the Skyhawk. It'll be the Fang. It'll be the Night Landing, the Devilfish. It'll be stuff like that. The Asp. Those are low-hanging fruit I think we can get, and there's a lot of redecos in with those. The Shark, I think that can be redecoed. Water moccasin be redecoed, and so on and so forth. And that's why they're doing. There's a rumor of that that stealth trouble bubble and the ferret, the green ferret, because we've gotten two versions of each of those vehicles. So this would be a third version of each of those in the classified line. Um, and you're gonna get the Silver Mirage too. Now the Silver Mirage is an interesting one. I think people want the Silver Mirage, but there's not a lot of redecos. I think if they're going to do something like that, then they're going to redeco the Ram and they're going to just use that silver paint and upgrade it and add some new elements to it. I think that's what they would do with the Ram. We've gotten 3 Rams with the regular, the Tiger Force, and the Night Force. But if you want a regular Silver Mirage version, I think they're going to have to just redeco it all silver, kind of like Sky Patrol, and do some new weapons and stuff. That's how you're going to get that, I think. That's just my gut feeling. I don't know, but we'll see. The Recon sled is small. It is small, but like I've said before, you've got to look at the redecos. You've got to look at the reusable possibilities of every vehicle that they do, because that is expensive to make something big like that. Even though it's small in GI Joe, it's about this small, it's going to be about this big in classified. It's going to look like the Baroness's coil motorcycle if they do it in classified scale. The Ram with a sidecar. Yeah, the Ram with the sidecar already has come out 3 times, and we could possibly get that, I think. We'll just have to wait and see. So let's see. I talked about our next figure. I talked about barbecue, and then there's my show again, the Send Flow Joe show in Central Florida, Deltona, Florida, April 19th. Mark Pennington is our primary guest. We're going to have a lot of other guests. Adam Riches. We're going to have Joe Fest has confirmed they're going to be a booth at the show. We're going to have Jason Mark Sobel, the artist, G.I. Joe artist there as well. We're going to have Rising Sun Comics will be their publisher with Hawk Sanders. We're going to have After Action Report with Roger Taft. We're going to have tons of vintage toys and comics and other cool stuff. Star Wars, Transformers, Thundercats, Lego, you name it. All kinds of great toys for you guys to get. All different eras of G.I. Joe. Fantastic. Too bad I don't live in the U.S. I'm sorry about that. G.I. Joe 66 Delta 17. Fly in. Come to Disney. Come on vacation. Come to Disney. Come to Universal. Come to Cape Canaveral. Do all the sites. Come to my show and have a nice vacation. Lots of people from Canada come to Florida. I always miss all those cool G.I. Joe shows. There's a couple of shows up in Canada. There's a bunch of Canadian G.I. Joe groups up there that do shows. There's also the Anaheim Fan Expo and the Toronto Fan Expo. So they have some really large shows up there, and they have a lot of G.I. Joe shows. So you should be able to do a lot. There's a lot of opportunities there. I love the Recon sled. I like the toy itself, but I'm trying to be realistic. What are they going to put out? Where we already have motorcycles. We have the coil motorcycle. We have the Ram motorcycle. We have the Ferret. So we've already got 3-wheeled type vehicles. Would they put out something a little more futuristic? I don't know. I think they should redo the coil motorcycle that Baroness came with and redeco it and add some more green elements and more futuristic stuff to it. And that could be something that could substitute for the Recon sled, possibly. We can't afford vacations. I have too many kids to feed. Wow. I'm sorry about that. Well, and I'm going back 40 years, but my mom and dad, they always took us on a summer vacation. If you always watched all the old Brady Bunch episodes and the Partridge Family and a lot of these old sitcoms, they would go on vacations in the summer. And my mom and dad always took us on a vacation in the summer. And I'm one of 5 siblings. One of our siblings was older and was out of the house, but they always took my sister and my 2 brothers and I on vacations. We came to Florida several times. We went to Niagara Falls. We went to Montreal. We went to different places all over New England and other places in New York and stuff like that. We did all kinds of vacations as children when we were young. My mom and dad took us, and we didn't have a lot of money, but it was different in the 80s, I guess. But they made it work, and they were reasonable vacations that were realistic. Buzzbore, they've done several buzzbores, so maybe when we get a buzzbore Lone Dragon, it's a possibility. Everything costs way too much in Canada. CA food is expensive, rent expensive, electric's expensive, clothes expensive, cars expensive, insurance expensive, buying action figures expensive. Yeah, I think it has to do with your guys' economy, the way that it's structured, where you get free medical and a lot of benefits, education benefits in college, and a lot of that type of stuff. I think that's where a lot of your funds are going towards, those type of things. And I know it's difficult on a day-to-day basis, but you are helping your growth of your country with your education and your medical, getting that help for your elderly and kids with disorders and mental and medical issues and stuff like that, and a lot of other situations. So I think overall, I guess it balances, you know. So if your kids need something, whatever they need, education, some education help or medical or something, I'm sure you could get that GI Joe 66 Delta 17. My rent, wow, and food costs 7 plus every 2 weeks. That's just what I buy internal and phone. Wow. So yeah, you got a big budget there. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that I could do what you're doing with all your kids and stuff like that. I'm just trying to help you out there. So I've been there. My family was there when I was young. We had a hard time. I know the budget is different from the 80s till now. Um, so I wish you all the luck, and hope everything works out and you do well. Maybe someday you'll have time or the ability to come down for vacation. And that's not all. The food cause she buys more food too. So these 2,000 a month just on food plus Hydra and water and gas. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. 66. Sorry about that. I know that's tough. Yeah, trust me. I'm getting my vehicle all worked on too, um, and I got that budget yesterday. So we all have different difficulties and different um, troubles and challenges in our lives. So everybody's is different. So I just wish you the best of luck with it all. Yeah, yeah, I understand. I understand. Thankfully, we live in Florida, and our taxes are a lot lower here in Florida. Thanks to our governor, he does a good job, and he's trying to get some other things lowered too. So we don't want to get back into politics. So what else is going on? We got a lot of new videos coming up, so keep an eye on those. I hope you guys enjoyed this barbecue deep dive. I went a little bit deeper into barbecue than I usually do, because he's one of my favorite characters. I wanted to showcase a little bit more of the history of barbecue. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I look forward to having you guys in the next videos. Some people lose half their income to taxes too, depending on what they make. Yep, I understand. Completely understand. Uh, my Rattler and Snake Armor got shipped, and BBTS shipped my card backs. I am asked. Oh, very good. Stoked. Well, good Good, Gunpowder Nitrite. I look forward to you talking about them in the future chats. Let me know how that goes. If they all came good and you had a good experience getting your Rattler, unlike 610 Yojo Daddy. Um, LOL, almost. I'm from Vancouver Island. It's pricey, but it's life. Yeah, Sean Jones. Yep, you got it. Happy Friday, Super Dave in chat. Thank you, crusty old crow. Appreciate it. Nice pickup gun. Crunchy Crow. Funny. Everybody's saying hi to Crusty Old Crow. 1,200 Canadian is 870 American. Wow. Wow. Oh, it's tricky. I'm lucky. My spouse has a very good job, and I've been doing well. And I saved, and I put money away, and I took care of responsibilities. So I have a home, I have several vehicles, and things like that. And I don't have children, and I don't have pets. So I was very smart with things that I've done. So everybody makes different decisions in life, and we all have to kind of accept those choices that we've made and deal with it and do the best we can. That's all we can ask, is to do the best we can. Uh, let's see, Lone Dragon. Just be glad you're not from Penn Island. Penn Island. Oh yeah, right. Funny. Funny, Lone Dragon. You grew up in a trailer park in East Tennessee and couldn't afford a Rattler back then. I think it's awesome getting a second chance at owning some of these pieces. There you go, Gunpowder Nitro. That's very good. That's a positive outlook on that. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff I couldn't afford when I was a child. My parents did give me certain things if I did good and I worked. I had part-time jobs and I helped out and did stuff, and we were able to get certain things. Yeah, I couldn't afford a flag. I couldn't afford the Conquest, Defiant playsets, or the Mobile Command Center, or any of these really really big stuff like the General and the Thunderclap, or the that type of stuff. But I was able to get medium vehicles within the $25 and below range. That's why I was able to get a Havoc. My Havoc, when I got it as a child, was $16, and it came with cross country. So vehicles were a lot more reasonable and easier to get back in those time frames, and you can get a lot more stuff. And you didn't necessarily have to get the big vehicles. A lot of the big vehicles were $75 and higher. So those are like Christmas items. We didn't have the money to get those large things, but we got what we could. I was happy with what we could. I've reacquired my vintage collection since I've become an adult, and I've gotten everything except for two vehicles. I'm two vehicles short because I waited too long to get into the Night Force um, um, faction of GI Joe, and now those vehicles go for lots of money. So I've got the most expensive two left: the Night Boomer and the Moray, whatever the Night Landing, I guess it's called. I'm not sure. Um, I was a mom. I was a Mamba in classified, so will fill my childhood trauma. I've never getting one. Oh, you want a Mamba in the classified because you never got one as a child. I see. Yeah, I think we could get a Mamba. I think down the road, I think they were doing the more popular vehicles. That's why we got the Hiss, we got the Dragonfly, we got the Rattler. I was a little surprised we got the Snowcat. Yes, the Snowcat's been made umpteen times as a vehicle, all kinds of decos and variations. So I can see why they did that vehicle, because it's a vehicle that they can redeco, right? But I would have put some other vehicles before the Snowcat, in my opinion. I think the Moray would be a much more important vehicle to get. I think the the battle tactical playset would be a more popular playset type situation. I think the Tomahawk, I think the Mamba, I think there's a few other things. The Thunder Machine, the what's that Cobra vehicle that splits open, has the big wheels? I can't remember the name of it. It came out the same year as the Thunder Machine. Um, Let's see. Tomahawk, I'd take that. Night Raven is too big for me, I think. Um, the stun, that's it. My brother had a Mamba, so it was around. Ah, okay. The stun, yeah. I think we could get a stun. I don't know if they would use the stun as a class Haslab or not, but I think you could get that as a 4 inch, not a 4 inch, a maybe a pre-orderable scenario in that 150 range if they added some extra characters to it, possibly. What other stuff? Your guys' whale be at the very end of the HasLab would be the last one we probably ever get. I think we could do a Terradrome, like that sliver, pizza sliver that I talked about. A tank, a modular tank with a bunch of turrets, multiple tiers, unlocks with different turrets that could be locked. The bridge layer, the Wolverine, the Mobat, the Mauler turrets, and maybe even the interrogator. Is it the it's the Sergeant Slaughter Marauder one. I can never remember the name of those things. But yeah, a tank with a bunch of turrets. So there's a bunch of HasLabs right there that I've named that I think we could possibly get. Um, Lone, I never had one either. Had the Night Raven though, ×2. Oh wow. I think the point went as much as Snowcat product as much as it was about getting the Arctic line started strong. Lots of smaller sets can come out of to support it. Water sets are a harder struggle. Yeah, because people have asked them about the floating mechanisms and the floating capabilities, and they said that they've been working on it for a while, trying to figure that out. And there is a plan they say they have for water. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. For Deke, I'd take a Cobra Rage tank. Oh, wow. The Rage. I don't know if we would get the Rage, though. That's interesting, though. We didn't have the Night Raven, but I had the Crusader and the Rolling Thunder, and my brother had the General. Yeah, you guys are a little bit later in the line, so you got the later vehicles. And the only Rattler we had was my Tiger Force Rattler. Love that thing. Yeah, the Tiger Rat and the Tiger Cat and the Tiger Fly, all those I think we're going to get. I really do. I don't think Hasbro and Classified is going to miss the opportunity. So we're going to get all those in the Classified line. They're going to probably be all pre-orderable things at Christmas time every year, one a year. So you'll get a HasLab in the summer. You'll get a pre-orderable MTR situation at the beginning of the year, right around now and Christmas time. And I think that's as big as those are. I think that's all I could afford to get because they are going to be astronomically expensive to try and do two of those situations a year. And then vehicles that are in the $100 range, the $80 range, the $40, $50 range, also through the year. It's going to get expensive. It's going to get expensive. Um, you never had the Rattler. Yeah, the Rattler, I did have it. I think I got it at a flea market. I didn't buy it off the shelf in a store. I got it off a flea market, and it was pretty complete. I think there may have been a couple missiles. So I never had a vintage boxed Rattler, but I did buy one at a flea market one time, and so I did have it. It's one of the larger vehicles I did have with the Havoc. I had, I think, the GI Joe headquarters. I had obviously the Mobat, the Mauler, the Vamp, the Stinger, um, the Fang, the Rams. I had all that stuff. I had some of the the medium vehicles like the Shark, the Water Moccasin, some of that type of stuff. So most of my vehicles came between 83 and like 86. After that, I stopped getting out of vehicles. The only one I really got in like, I think it was 87 was the Pogo, which I love the Pogo. I would love to get a Pogo in Classified because we have most of the characters from that. Now we have Outback, Tunnel Rat, Raptor, Armor Coco. We don't have a Fred yet or a Billy yet, but from that storyline, we have most of the characters, and we don't have the Pogo yet, which I would love to get a Pogo. So, all right, I'm gonna let you guys go. Um, I would love a maggot. I think you could do the maggot in like 2 or 3 modular sets to get the whole thing. Um, right now, I mainly want the shark with 1 or 2 seats. No lie down version and the Skyhawk and Fang. I thought they would have made by now. Well, there's been rumors of the Fang and the Skyhawk for a while. And maybe we'll get them this year. I don't know. No Pogo, it falls apart. LOL, they would have to make it better. Oh yeah, it would definitely be made to have bouncing legs and much more articulation and things like that. Go live tonight. Why tonight? Later, y'all. Hope you have a great Friday. Thanks, Gunpowder. You take care. The Devilfish and Tiger Shark coming for sure. Maybe 2-seaters. Yep. Yo, Joe. Hello, Lenny Honda. Lone Dragon. Yeah, so, all right, I think I'm going to call this one quits. We've been on here a little longer than I anticipated, answering some questions and talking to you guys in the chat. So remember that the new faction character coming up next, and I appreciate all you guys in the chat asking questions, getting involved, and keeping that conversation going. And I love everybody after the fact watching on the replay crew. Thank you very much. You guys are wonderful. Thank you very much. This is a Big Yo Joe video, so we're gonna go with Yo Joe. Take care. Thanks a lot.